we're a day away from the draft, and everyone's mind is focused on the first round. So no one's really thinking about day 2, let alone day 3. But I want y'all to know as many prospects as possible. So here is my top 300 big board heading into the NFL draft. What's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. As always, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Who do you think got left out? Because I know there's going to be a ton of players that you're like, oh man, they should be higher, they should be lower. It is what it is. This is all my opinion. This is my big board. So whoever's your cup of tea might not be my slice of cake. So let's go ahead, get into the nitty-gritty. We're talking about 300 different guys. I'm going to kind of briefly go over them so we can kind of fly by this. I don't want this to be extraordinary long video. I've talked about a lot of these guys during the draft process anyway. So let's go ahead and get into it. Aiden Hutchinson, he's my number 1. I think he's got the highest floor of any of the pass rushers. Got him here at 1. Let's go ahead, go to the top 5. Evan Neal, I know medical concerns have come out about him, and are they valid? Are they not? I don't care. This dude was amazing at Alabama. Never missed time as far as I'm aware. And dude has experience at guard, experience at both tackle spots. Sign me up. KT, he's amazing. I don't buy into he's got a bad character. He's an egomaniac. Even if he is, hell, he's a hell of a player. Here, I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bigger. I got Icky F4. I'm a big fan of Icky, the sticky Icky himself. Got him up here. Very good combine workout. Then I got the corners. Keep in mind, this is positional. I do take in consideration positional value. So that's why you see edge, the pass rushers. You see you'll see perimeter players ranked a bit higher, like the wide receivers, the tackles, corners and whatnot. So you're gonna see those guys higher. So I got Ahmad Gardner. I got Derek Stingley. It's real tough. If you're sold in on the ability, the pure upside of Derek Stingley, that he could regain that 2019 form and then build upon that, then hey, go him. But I like Sauce too. Really, I just couldn't put them too far apart. Cross is here at number 7. I don't think he's too far removed from Ikem Ekwonu, but far enough in terms of like he's coming from Mike Leach offense where he didn't really experience a lot of pro style Russian concepts. So I think he might be have a little bit more of a learning curve than Ikem. And then I have Kyle Hamilton, who I think is vastly talented. I'm still high on him. I know some people have fallen off that, but man, I just buy the film. I like the film. So I got him here. Garrett Wilson, I'm a huge fan of, coming in at number 9. If you're not new to the channel, you know I love me Garrett Wilson. And you also know me, I love Trent McDuffie. I'm a big fan, great athlete, not ideal size or length, but a guy that can play a very versatile role for many different defenses out there. Then I have Jermaine Johnson here at 11. I know the NFL is probably a bit higher on him. I am a bit concerned that a majority of his pressures and sacks came 3 seconds into the snap, opposed to a guy like maybe Arnold Ebiketie, who a majority of his stuff came within 1 to 2 seconds. So Jermaine Johnson, you might get scared he's a late to the party, life of the party type of guy, maybe like a Dante Fowler, but I think there's enough there in terms of his ceiling's a bit higher than I expected. Had a banger day 1 practice of the Senior Bowl. So yeah, I'm a big fan. Jameson Williams, I really do believe is the second best wide receiver in this class. Huge fan. I think he just has rare speed, stop-start ability that you just don't find quite often. And this is where I have Travon Walker. I buy into, I think he's got a higher floor than a lot of people give him credit for, because being able to move at that size, he's going to be a good football player. The question is he a guy that can attain that potential? So I think 13 is a pretty safe spot for him, but obviously he's going to go higher. Then I have George Karloftis. Some people don't like him. It is what it is. I think his game translates to the NFL. I think he's going to be a hell of a player. Jordan Davis is a unicorn, but I do question what he can do as a pass rusher. I do question the durability, but I think here at 15 is pretty safe. He's another guy that's going to go much higher than this. Drake London coming in here at 16. I love him at the contested catch. And best of all, my favorite wide receiver skill, what can you do after the catch? He does that well. And then this is where I have Devontae Wyatt. He's just pro ready. If you're a team that has a Super Bowl window and you just need someone that can start now and play at a pretty high level, I think that's Devontae Wyatt. Tyler Linderbaum not playing at a real position of value. There are concerns with his length and size, but he's a hell of a football player. Then I got Chris Olave, another guy that's just a hell of a football player. I think this guy has high-end 2 ability, and I think that's the floor. Sky's really the limit with this cat. He can fly. And then y'all know, again, if you're not new to the channel, I love Leo Chanel. He's my linebacker. I'm all in on Leo Chanel. I really am. I think a guy that at that size that can move the way he does, the way he did it at the combine, won't be a liability in coverage. I'm not going to say he's going to be a guy that's going to be making splash plays in coverage, but at least he's a 2-down run stuffer that has that ability. And I'm going to pair these two up. Bernhard Ryman, Trevor Penning. There's concerns with them. I think Bernhard Ryman's more pro ready, more ready to start. Despite only being in the tackle position for the last 2 seasons, I thought he looked decently good at the Senior Bowl, at least by comparison to Trevor Penning. I know why people like Trevor Penning in terms of the mentality and his upside as an athlete at that size. But yeah, these are 2 guys, man, I'm just so unsure about, but I don't mind taking them here, maybe in the back end of the first round. Devin Lloyd, the next linebacker off the board, I just think he translates very well to the NFL. Here comes the first quarterback, Malik Willis, highest upside of any quarterback in this class here at 24. Then I have Zion Johnson. Could probably move. He's the one guy I'm willing to move up a bit more. I'm a big fan of Zion Johnson. I think he's got flexibility in terms of what position he can play. Here's Treylon Burks. I know he didn't test out like DK Metcalf. I don't think he really needed to. He's still got really good speed for a guy his size. And it'll be interesting to see where he ends up going in the NFL draft. Lewis Cine, I love this cat at safety. Hard hitter. I think he's got a nose for the football. Cat's just good. Sam Howell. Again, if you're not new to the channel, I love me Sam Howell, man. He's got plus mobility to extend the play. I think he just needs to learn to go through progressions and just get a better feel for anticipation. I got both the next tier of corners here, in Kyer Elam and Andrew Booth. I'm a big fan of Elam. I love he has just physicality you just can't teach. The type of physicality you either have it or you don't. And I'd rather teach him to be less handsy. And then Booth, really wish he got to test out. Unfortunately did not because of the injury, but big fan. Daxton Hill, I know he's being talked about as a top 20 prospect, but I just can't. I don't know why, but I think he's a deep safety in the NFL. I think he could sneak into the first round. All right, who do we have next? Desmond Ritter, man. This is a long time coming. I've really come around to Desmond Ritter, especially after the Alabama game. I thought he looked especially good. Yeah, he's going to be wildly inaccurate at times, but he might be the most pro-ready guy with at least that elite upside. Tyler Smith, developmental guy at tackle, but you're starting this cat immediately at guard. You love his combination of strength and athleticism. Still a big fan of Nakobe Dean. He's here at 34. I think some people worry about, oh man, can this cat, is he athletic or is he just reacting quickly? I think he's both. Size is a bit of a concern, but I think Nakobe Dean's going to be a hell of a football player. Sky Moore, I love after the catch guys. That's just me. Travis Jones, I think he'd be a lot higher if Jordan Davis did not exist in this draft. Unfortunately, he does. Big fan of Arnold Ebiketie. He's actually been a late mover for me. And I kind of mentioned earlier, probably big reason why is he wins early in the snap. Big fan. Another guy who's just a hell of a football player, and Jalen Pitre. This guy just has a nose for a football and might be the best slot guy in this class. Jahan Dotson. There are concerns about his size and his play strength. I mean, at that size, you're going to have concerns about your play strength, but the dude is an explosive route runner. David Ojabo would be much higher if not for the injury, but he's here at 40. Kenyon Green didn't test out ideal. It was still above the average for NFL guards. So, yeah, no, big fan still. Matt Corral, man, moved this cat up one spot. It was originally 43. Now he's 42. He's going to be a 10 in the draft. Does he go in the first? That's a big question. Here's Boye Mafe. He's a little too rough around the edges for me, being a guy that's going to be 24 during his rookie season. So, but still explosive as hell. Jaquan Brisker doesn't have the high-end athleticism as guys like Seen and Daxton Hill, but he's a hell of a safety. Here I have George Pickens. He was a late, I kind of mentioned it in my receiver rankings that I ended up swapping him and Watson. I just think there's a better chance at Pickens becoming a better all-around receiver. I've talked about Abraham Lucas a lot. I think he's a high floor guy at either tackle spot, really. And here comes a slew of linebackers, actually. We got Brian Asamoah, Quay Walker. I'm a sucker for a guy that can fly around in coverage, and that's kind of Asamoah. Walker. I think he's probably going to end up being a better football or NFL player than he was college player. And then Roger McCreery and Drake Jackson round out the top 50 for me. Drake Jackson, straight up. If this guy had more consistency on tape, he'd be a lot higher because his high-end reps match, I would dare say, rival those of the guys top in this class. Mccreery is here at 49, and he falls down a little bit for me just because I think there's a good chance he could only be a slot guy. Let's go ahead to the next set of guys. Chad Muma, hell of a football player. Kind of questioned the physicality. Christian Watson, he questioned the ball skills, but I think he's better MVS. Here's Kenny Pickett. Listen, I've been talking about his hand size this whole freaking draft process, and I'm kind of over it. You either think he's an exception or you don't. It's come to that. Kenneth Walker is my top running back off the board, but close behind him I have Breece Hall, literally 1A, 1B. And then at 56, I got Nick Benito. Not going to be a guy that hits you with a bull rush. That's just not him. But he's a hell of a finesse pass rusher. Christian Harris, here at 57. A lot of people don't like Christian Harris. I think it is what it is. The dude's built, and there is that upside there with him. And then Perion Winfrey, very explosive. I think he's going to be a penetrating 3-tech. Nick Cross is my guy in this class. I love this dude's range, especially at his size. Here I have Kyler Gordon, a guy that I was shocked was as high on the consensus board as he was, but I mean, chances are this guy's going to be a good football player sooner than later, but he does need a little bit more seasoning. And then Trey McBride, first tight end off the board. I'm going to take a quick sip. Oh. Jalen Tolbert, another guy I think needs a little development, but could be a high-end number 2. Absolutely, love Dylan Parham. Big fan of this cat. I think he can play guard or center. Logan Hall. There's a lot of hype behind Logan Hall, and I think this is a fair placement for him just because he's a tweener, and yeah. Kingsley Enagbari, listen, man, he produced in the SEC. He might not have the juice as some of the other edge guys, but love this cat. Sam Williams will have the character concerns, but another guy that just has very impressive tape from this season. Then Alec Pierce, I think he's more of a deep threat, ran a real simplistic route tree at Cincinnati. Still a big fan. Cam Taylor, Brit. I think this guy's got a versatile body type to play really anywhere in the secondary. And Brandon Smith, I talked about him yesterday. So if you want to check out that video, go check that video out in my underrated prospects. Then here's Troy Anderson. These are essentially kind of hold these guys in similar regard to their project linebackers. They're not going to be starting early, but they have incredible athleticism, and if they develop, it could be high end. But also have Chin Tyndall here, so we got 3 linebackers right off the bat. I love the range of Tyndall. He's literally jacked in terms of his upper body, and great length. Tyreek Woolen, he's a project corner. But, I mean, good luck finding a guy at his size that can run, like, that's as fast as he is. Nicholas Petit-Frere, I feel like I'm higher on than the consensus. But I think he could start guard early, and he has the tools to be a very good tackle in the NFL. Here's Carson Strong. There are concerns with the knee. That's why he's down here. Luke Gadecki, I like him. Injuries are a concern, but the dude's strong, good grip strength, probably a guard in the NFL. Here's DeMarvin Leal. He had a rough second half of the season that was followed up by a drug arrest for like 2 ounces of marijuana. And Jamari Sawyer's just a hell of a football player. I think he's going to be a good NFL guard. Kirby Joseph, he's like the Jamar Johnson, if you remember him from last year in this class at the safety position. Calvin Austin, he's my top gadget player. Welcome to number 79 on the big board, brah. Cameron Thomas, another guy that's kind of a bit of a tweener. He's like Aiden Hutchinson, light. And I got Sean Ryan, another guy that's just going to be a really good guard prospect. Martin Emerson, I love this cat, man. Didn't play a lot of press there at Mississippi State, but he's got tremendous length and probably will be doing that in the NFL. John Metchi here for Alabama. There's a lot of things I like about Metchi, but I do think he might be a slot only. Kellen Diesch, apparently I'm maybe a bit higher on him than the consensus, but it is what it is. I think he can stick a tackle. I think his hands are active enough in pass protection that it will make up for his length or lack thereof. Damien Pierce, pretty solid running back. Like, he's going to be a solid committee guy. That's why I have him here. He's a good pass blocker, actually pretty darn good receiving back. Wish he had better ball skills, but you don't expect that at running back. And honestly, he's no nonsense, gets to the point, running back that could pick you up yards. Cameron Jurgens, the Beef Jurgens himself, big fan. Got him here at 86. Apparently, he could go higher. The NFL might be a lot higher on him than I am. Cole Strange tested out well, played well for Chattanooga. Looked like he belonged at the Senior Bowl. Then I got Josh Pascal. Really probably one of the premier interior edge prospects in this class. Like, when I say interior, I mean like a guy that could kick inside and cause some mayhem. Darren Kennard's a good football player, but man, I really think he's a guard in the NFL. His hands are just not active enough to stay at tackle. Perry Strong, absolutely love Strong. Looked great at the Shrine, and then he tested out phenomenally. Khalil Shakir is one of my favorite slot receivers in this class, though he does need to work on some of the ball skills issues. He has a lot of focus drops. Luke Fortner, I think he's a center only, but he's a hell of a center only guy. And here's Jelani Woods, again, kind of a developmental guy, because he isn't complete as a blocker, but he has the physicality and the physical profile to be. And on top of that, tested out like a monster. Big fan. James Cook, probably the premier scat back in this class. Fedarian Mathis, just a good football player. Greg Dulcich, I think he's probably one of the premier receiving tight ends in this class. Don't expect much as a blocker, though. Really don't. Let's go ahead and just go to these next guys, as we got Darien Beavers, who I really like at linebacker. He's got interest in length, being a former edge. Zion McCullum, man, I just feel like I might be too high on him because he is a project for all intents and purposes, but tested out in the 90th percentile athletically. Zach Tom, some people see him as tackle. I think he's a hell of a center prospect. And then Daniel Falele, just unteachable size. Can you teach size? No, you can't. On to the next set of guys. Marcus Jones, another guy that I love that's going to be a slot corner, but great return skills. Brian Cook might be the hardest hitting safety in this class. Myjah Sanders, I think, is a bit developmental. Needs to use his hands better as a pass rusher, but he does have a very explosive first step. Jojo Doman, older prospect. I might be too high on him. Kind of is what it is. I think he's just a hell of a football player. Max Mitchell, I think, got a raw deal during the offseason draft process as he was recovering from fractures in both hands. And then Bailey Zappi, man, he's going to be a good backup quarterback in the league. I just feel it. And then Tyler Algier, another guy that's a no-nonsense runner, but you're gonna find a role for him, man, and he can do it. Like, hey, we want you, go pick up first down. He's got, and also he can break for daylight. He really can. Actually, plus pass protector too. Thomas Booker, I talked about in my underrated video, so go check that out. Wan'Dale Robinson, I'm not high on him like some other people are, which, again, I just don't really believe the NFL uses gadget players well, and I really think Robinson's a gadget guy. Here, let's scroll up a bit. So I got Marcus Haynes. He's a phone booth blocker, but probably one of my favorites in the class. Lante Taylor, another guy with a versatile body type that I just absolutely love. Go check out my cornerback video. I kind of raved about him. Matthew Butler, penetrating 3-tech. He was probably the best defensive line prospect at the Shrine. Jerome Ford, I legit think he could be a steal, man. This cat he's got home run speed for a bigger back, and I like that. Dude had so many big plays this past season. Jalen Armour Davis, kind of rolling the dice with him because a lot of injury concerns. He didn't play a lot of Alabama until this season, 92 snaps coming into this season, and a lot of that was in part because, well, he was hurt. All right, the North Dakota tackle here tests out real well and looked like he belonged at the Senior Bowl. To be fair, there wasn't a lot of good play at the Senior Bowl from the offensive line perspective. Donovan West, man, underrated. Like, dude could play guard, could play center, probably center in the NFL, but really like the cat. Ed Ingram, very good pass protector. I think he could be, he leaves a bit to be desired, though, as a run blocker. D'Angelo Malone. I don't want to see this cat in coverage. He's probably he's up there with Amari Barno. We'll see him a little later on the list as one of the top designated pass rush only. Brian Robinson, I think he is the premier power back in this class. Kevin Austin, I'm just higher on him than probably than everybody, just straight up. But the guy tested out great. I think his best football is ahead of him, and he came on hot for the Irish down the stretch. Romeo Doubs, for a bigger receiver, he plays kind of small. He plays like he's a smaller receiver. Rasheed Walker out of Arizona State, man, this cat is just scary in open space. He just is. And scroll up a little bit. Braxton Jones, he's more of a developmental guy, but I kind of like that about him. 36-inch arms, so you're working with very good physical tools. My boy Chig Okonkwo, he is everything I wish Isaiah Likely was. We'll talk about Likely later on the list. Josh Williams, another one of those small school prospects that was at the Senior Bowl. He's got great length, test out well. I think he's another project corner I don't mind taking a shot on. And then Rasheed Walker, like straight up, like Rasheed Walker doesn't have pretty tape. When it comes to better competition, he just didn't show up, didn't take that next step, but he does have the physical tools you desire. And then here's Justin Ross, man. He's just not my cup of tea when it comes to a wide receiver. He's a contested catch guy that was really kind of mediocre at the contested catch. He struggles with separation, so much so Clemson put him in the slot. Scrolling up further is Amir White, man. Not dynamic, but I'm not going to deny, man. The dude has breakaway speed. I think he's going to be good in a committee. There's Amari Barno out of Virginia Tech. Smaller edge rusher, but again, designated pass rush only. I like that. Tariq Castro Fields, actually very praised at the Senior Bowl for his recovery speed. Another guy to watch out for. James Mitchell, he was in my underrated list. Go listen to that. I'm a big fan. Then Micah McFadden, probably one of the best blitz and linebackers in this class. Damone Clark would have been a lot higher if not having to redshirt his rookie season because of a herniated disc. Then Alex Wright, another guy that couldn't participate in the combine because of pectoral injury, couldn't participate in his pro day, but interest in size and a lot of good tape. Here's David Bell. I know there's a lot of big David Bell fans out there, but he's going to find doing his job in the NFL very hard. Just that's lack of speed, it's a concern. And then Yoma Onwuzurike coming in here, very versatile defender there at Iowa State, but a guy that plays very off balance. Carson Williams probably the best pass protector in this class, and he's got good receiving skills, but I think he's purely a guy used in pass sets. Chris Paul, interesting size and mobility, but he is a guard. Don't confuse it. He played right tackle there at Tulsa, but interesting skill set. Bo Melton, one of my favorite slot guys, just got a lot of jitter to himself as a route runner. And scrolling up some more, Dominique Robinson. He's a project. He's a former receiver. Former receiver there at Miami, Ohio. Made the transition, and he has just been on the rise, but he is a project. Lecious Smith, this guy that doesn't get talked about enough. He's just going to be a good football player. Plays a lot faster than he tested out. Devontae Price didn't get used a lot in the passing game at Florida International. I think that's a shame because I think he offers a lot. Really do. And a lot as a return man. Tyreek Smith's just a good player, just doesn't have high-end traits. And then we got Tyler Beatty. I want to say Batty because Batty just sounds cool. But Tyler Beatty, probably one of the better scat backs in this class. Malcolm Rodriguez is just, for an undersized guy, a hell of a football player. Marquise Bell, straight up, man. This cat's good. I think he's like a sub-package linebacker. Box defender. Like, you want to play this guy around the line of scrimmage. There at Mumford, not high upside, but he's going to be a good football player. I feel that same way about Jack Sanborn, who was schemed a lot in terms of coverage. All right, scrolling up, we got Javion Hiley. Didn't get a combine invite, which means the NFL's probably not high on him. He could go undrafted, so I'm a lot higher on him than the consensus, but the cat is good. He showed that he's more of a complete route runner than what was displayed at Coastal Carolina. And Kobe Bryant, man, I just think he lacks some high-end traits to really be drafted on day 2. So here I have him. He's in 150. I still think he's a hell of a football player. All right, we're halfway through the list, and it only took 30 minutes. All right, JT Woods, dude, plays like a receiver at safety. Sterling Weatherford is a linebacker, but he tested out real well. Tyquan Thornton's a guy that I keep thinking to put higher on my list. It's just, I don't know, man. He's more than just a track player trying to play receiver. Like, he's got a legit route runner in terms of what he can do vertically. Cordero Flott would be a lot higher if he decided to return, but coaching change, I think, kind of forced his hand. Here's Kyle Phillips. He's another guy that's probably a slot only, and he's only this high because of potential return skills. Ruckert's going to be a good tight end, but he's kind of plotting as a receiving option. Damari Mathis, I think he's going to be a good man corner, but I don't really think there's a lot of high end to him. I wasn't that impressed with him at the Senior Bowl. Yusuf Corker tested out much better than I anticipated. Still think he's a box safety, but one hell of one. Cade Otton, he's hurt, so he was unable to take part in the offseason draft process, but he's a chain mover and a very good blocker. That's what you want at tight end. Obina Eze is a project tackle, but he's got some good movement skills. I kind of talked about Ridgeway and Otito in my interior prospects, where Ridgeway is going to be your run stuffer while Otito is more of a pass rusher. Charlie Collier, man, dude's got length. The dude's a legit receiving threat. I think if he was a better blocker, he'd be higher on my list. And Tyson Anderson, another guy with a versatile body type that could probably play anywhere in coverage. Cordell Volson, I think he's a guard. Not listed a guard, though, but I think he's a guard. Played right tackle mainly for North Dakota State. Very strong dude. Zachary Carter's got a lot of versatility along the defensive line. Daniel Bellinger had a hell of a combine, and he was raved about at the Senior Bowl. All right, let's keep this sucker moving. We got Terrell Bernard, kind of like he's similar to Malcolm Rodriguez. Bit undersized, but just a hell of a football player. Eric Johnson. I freaking love Eric Johnson. He's a late bloomer. at a lower competition. So Haskell Garrett's going to be a good rotation player in the NFL. Percy Butler, probably one of the better day 3 options at deep safety. Joshua Rivera's, man, straight up, I just think I'm higher on this cat than the consensus. Another guy that's kind of a phone booth type of blocker. Kalon Barnes, I really think he's slot only, and I kind of feel like he might be more track star than actual football player. So up, Mike Rose, man, he's got legit ball skills, and like, watch out, man. He might be a guy that sees the field early. Could say the same thing about Cade Mays. Just his tape's a bit up and down just because he was moved tackle, guard, right side, left side, but he's got a good physical profile. Neal Farrell Jr., he's more explosive than he tested out at, and might end up just being a penetrating nose tackle on third downs. Jeffrey Gunter, man, this cat tested out insane, but he is raw. His technique is far from polished. Jake Ferguson, watch out for him, man. Like, low key, like, he's a good football player, man. He tested out much better than I anticipated, but it's not like he's got breakaway speed. I think he's a plus receiver, but man, not enough for me to put him really any higher. Then we moved to Quinnen Lake, one of my guys I really like at safety. He's got special team experience, so that's why I value him pretty high. And then we got Joshua, I'm going to mess up your last name, so I won't say it, out of North Carolina. Just tested out well, good RAS score, probably the best guy on that very lackluster North Carolina offensive line. Bam Zonovan Knight, I still believe in the cat. Didn't test out great, but he's got good film. He runs a bit high, though. Isaiah Spiller, go to my overhyped prospects video, and we could talk Isaiah Spiller. Curtis Brooks, be higher on the list if he wasn't going to be 25 during his rookie season. And DeMarco Jackson, he's a dude to watch out for. He's pretty good, pretty explosive downhill. Schaefer's pretty solid there out of Georgia. Jalen Naylor's a good vertical threat. And Leon O'Neal is one of my favorite box safeties in this class. It's a shame that his missed tackle rate is quite high. Noah Ellis, another nose tackle. There's a lot of nose tackles in this class. And that's about it. That's who he is. Reggie Robertson could have been a day 2 pick if he didn't get hurt last season. Real shame. He's probably going to end up as a day 3 guy. Tyron Davis Price, man, very good film there at LSU. Power back, but he's got a little giddy up to him. Here's Mario Goodrich, very experienced zone corner. Logan Bruss, if you're not new to the channel, you know I'm kind of a mark for Wisconsin prospects this year, so I'm a big fan. Joshua Corbin, man, watch out for him. He's got return skills, and you would have saw more time at Texas A&M if not for the injury and then the emergence of Spiller forced him to transfer, and he had a really good year. Isaiah Thomas, he flexes some versatility on the inside, and Oklahoma kind of used him in that fashion, but it's not like he's got high-end traits. Abraham Smith, one hell of an off-season draft process. He could do a little bit of everything, but not one specific trait he could hang his hat on. Spencer Burford, I feel like I'm lower on him than probably the consensus. He's a bit developmental, but very good athletic upside. And you're going to notice Weston Briggs here. This is actually Isaiah Weston out of Northern Iowa. Unfortunately, the Draft Network, they don't have the names of everybody on my big board, as we'll get to that later on. But the dude, he doesn't have, like, his film's not, like, stupid impressive, but for a bigger receiver, tested out really well. Jerrion Ely, though, by the way, legit return skills, one of the better receiving backs in this class. Danny Gray, if he had better ball skills, he'd be a hell of a prospect. And then Keontae Ingram, legit speed, and just, I don't know, man, just never really had like high-end production at USC. It's kind of weird, but legit receiving ability. All right, on to this. Dane Belton, another guy I feel like I'm lower on than I should be, because he's a good player, man, really is. very experienced in coverage, as Iowa, they really get their defensive backs prepared for the NFL. Ryan Van Denmark doesn't have the best tape, but he was really good at the Shrine Bowl. Eric Uzakama. Oh man, he runs the simplest of route trees, but he's pretty good after the catch. Velus Jones would be higher if he wasn't 25 right now. He's got return skills, good deep threat. Oh, Jeremiah Moon is like your budget Adam Anderson if you don't want the baggage. Isaac Taylor Stewart, man, I'm still a fan of his, man. He never attained his potential, but there's a lot there. Owen Papo is not in this draft class, which means you are. He's this is Jason Poe. So this is Jason Poe, the Mercer center or guard. Only saw one game because guess what? It's hard to find Mercer tape, but it was against Alabama. He looked hella good, tested out extremely well. Watch out for him. And then Tanner Connor out of Idaho State, man. He's got legit size and speed. Ball skills are a bit questionable, but he didn't have the best quarterback either. And he ran a very simple route tree. And then we got Tyree Carpenter. This dude's a linebacker in the NFL. He really is, and I think he'd be a hell of one. He's probably my favorite Georgia Tech prospect. And then Leonard Johnson, man. They list him at safety. He could probably stick at corner, if I'm being honest. Like, low-key, he had one hell of a year for Duke this past season. His completion rate was, I think, 40-something% before injuries started hitting. And then Verone McKinley, he's a deep threat that just can't tackle. He's got some ball skills, but there are size concerns. James Houston, he's actually from Jackson State, but he is a transfer from Florida. Like, legit, he can be a scary edge. He's undersized in terms of he's like packing 240, but he's got 34-inch arms, and he's shown he can play coverage. Like, watch out. I think he gets drafted. Here we are. Isaiah freaking Likely finally gets on here. Listen, man, the guy just didn't test out well for a guy who's basically a jumbo receiver and doesn't have a lot of inline experience. They almost used him as much in the slot as they did inline. Luke Wattenberger, low-key, one of the better undersized centers in this class. Matt Henningsen, he's a penetrator. He's good, but another guy that's undersized. Connor Hayward, watch out, fullback. Legit ball skills. Jaden Peavy was a solid member of that Texas A&M defensive line. Here's Christian Allen. Could go higher than this. I'm actually a big fan of his. I thought he was going to have a breakout season this year, and then he got hurt on a sack in the season opener against the Hurricanes. Jacoby Durant, man, probably another guy that's he comes from lower competition, but he's a solid slot. Bubba Bolden, man, a guy that just never reached his true potential. Real shame being a Hurricanes fan. All right, Jesse Laquetta, a guy that might be an edge. I think he's going to be an edge. He was the cat at the Senior Bowl who put Daniel Falele on his butt along with Falele's draft stock. Josh Jobe, just not a big fan, never have been in this draft process, but he is a good technician. Caleb Evans, he is the better Mizzou corner than Ali Green. You're not gonna see Ali Green on this list. I'm not a fan of his. I am a fan of Evans though. He can stick like glue to receivers. Alec Lindstrom, I just don't think he has NFL play strength. I really don't. He's center only and only in an outside zone blocking scheme. Dawson Deedon though, watch out for that cat. He's pretty good. And then David Anei, I'm really bad with the names. But we're 40 minutes in the video, so it is what it is. Out of Houston, mainly played edge. Hardly had any snaps at linebacker. Very raw prospect. And if you're going to use him at his edge, he's very undersized. But, again, potential. Michael Clemens had a pretty solid year there for Texas A&M. Big fan, just not a lot of high-end traits. Vidarian Lowe, man. This man is ready for the NFL. I think he's going to be a solid depth piece and potential replacement starter in the NFL. And then Darion Kendrick, the man is just slow. I think it's legit speed concerns. If he's not impressed, then he's in trouble. Smoke Monday. Wish he had better athletic testing because I really like the name and I really like some of his tape. Aaron Hainsford, he's one of the older prospects in this class, but he's going to be a good run defender at the linebacker position. Quinterio Cole, he was an Alcorn State transfer, went to Louisville, played pretty well, but he is a box guy. Mikael Wright, man, he's just undersized. He plays physical, so much so that he actually gets called for pass interference and holding quite a bit. Ty Chandler, I know a lot of y'all are going to be higher on him than I am. That's just unfortunate. I'm just not a fan. He didn't really turn on until the last part of the year. Jared Carter, out of Southern, he looked pretty solid there at the Senior Bowl, but just he's a developmental guy. This is actually a linebacker from Illinois. Let me get his name right. It's Kalon. I think it's Tolson, I believe. We're at 136. Yeah, Tolson. He freaking tested out like a monster. And I mean a monster. 4'5", 140, 29 in the bench, 35 and a half in the vert. It's just, I don't think he's got good change of direction. Dijon Nixon, one of the better, let me see if you can actually see that. Yeah, you can. Good. One of the better big receivers in this class, but just not enough high-end upside and lower competition. Ontario Drummond, older prospect that was a man among boys, looked like it. Not a lot of speed to his game. Watch out for Austin Allen, man. He's got a very interesting build and legit ball skills. Like, low-key, he should be a draftable tight end. Isaiah Pacheco out of Rutgers. Bit older, but man, he has some long field speed that showed up here now on tape. Grant Calcaterra would have been higher on this list if not for the concussion concerns. That's a big knock for me. It's a big concern. Ali Fayed, he is probably a designated pass rush only, but man, he has got a toolbox of pass rushing moves. Darian Butler, undersized linebacker at Arizona State, but he plays very physical and he made a lot of plays in the run game. Ben Brown, older prospect, but a solid center. Jack Jones got some special team experience, mainly playing on the outside, but at his size, he's slot only. Akil Glass, big fan of Akil Glass, man. I love how this cat throws the football. He doesn't throw the tightest football, but he throws with the anticipation and he throws accurately. Josh Johnson be right up there with Kyle Phillips, if not for the lackluster ball skills. Here, let's scroll. Cole Kelly, Southeastern Louisiana. Oh, man. If you're looking for a developmental quarterback, Cole Kelly might be your guy. This guy's got a hell of an arm. Vincent Gray, he's got a lot of press experience, but also a lot of tape where he's just getting toasted. Ty Freifogel tested out way faster than his tape, and he struggles to separate on tape. But good big body receiver. All right, we're on to the final 50. I'm going to have to be careful because I know there's some guys here that they don't have the name for. Tyree Johnson, anytime you turn on Texas A&M tape, he is the first guy off the line. Very explosive. Luke Tenuta, they list him as interior. I think he could play tackle. Pretty solid guy there. Virginia Tech, like, you're going to see Brock Hoffman later on this list, which, man, I think that cat could make an NFL squad. Sincere McCormick doesn't quite have the home run speed, but low center of gravity, kind of like that. Hassan Haskins, I talked a little about him in my overrated. He's not dynamic. He's a short yardage goal line back. That's it. I'm just not a fan. Just not a fan. Mean stiff arm, but it's not like people talk about him like he's the second coming to Derrick Henry. Charleston Rambo had a good Shrine Bowl, but in a good bounce back year technically from after transferring from Oklahoma, but he's still pretty thin. He's like your bargain barrel Devontae Smith. All right, let's keep this sucker going. So this is actually the Villanova linebacker, Forrest Ryan, I believe. Yeah, Forrest Ryan is his name. Yeah, this dude tested out well, and he is one of the better blitzing linebackers in this class. Just lower competition, but definitely a dude to watch out for. If he gets drafted, then hell yeah, man, I called it. So keep in mind, Villanova linebacker. Cole Turner, just for a receiving tight end, he's just not that impressive. Didn't really stand out at the Senior Bowl. Turner, yeah, has some pretty good tape. I think he's pretty solid. Marquand McCall, not a lot of snaps there at Kentucky. Not a lot. Had some weight issues, but had a very good off-season draft process. Jalen Wademeyer, go check out my overrated video. I talk in depth about why Wademeyer fell. I got Adam Anderson here. We talked about this cat once as a first-round pick. And just straight up, I'm willing to take a 6th, 7th round shot. I know we got the concern of a lumen charge. If you're unfamiliar, just Google it. But if you're going to burn a 6th or 7th round pick, then I think Adam Anderson is not a bad option. Worst case scenario, you release him before the season. I got E.J. Perry out of Brown, former Boston College quarterback. Played a bit of hero ball there at Brown. Doesn't have good arm strength. Like, he's got an adequate arm, but he did have a very good offseason draft process as well. And I think underneath an intermediate, he is actually fairly accurate. Calvin Turner, is he a receiver? Is he a running back? He's a mixture of both. He's your late round gadget guy. Big fan. Aaron Mosby, probably going to make a move back to linebacker. He did play a little bit of linebacker at Fresno State before becoming an edge. They list him here at safety, which I'm like, why? That's what he was when he, like, his freshman season before they moved him to linebacker and then moved him an edge. But dude had a hell of a year at edge. Caleb Elby, man, he's a developmental guy, but man, there's something there if you can figure out just how to throw with zip. Like, there's screen passes where it's like, why are you putting that much air under the ball, my dude? Carson Wells, solid player, good off-season draft process, had a good Shrine Bowl as well. Mika Ezi, dude, very good physical receiver, big-bodied guy. He just feels like I think he's an older prospect. I've been watching this guy for like 3 seasons now. Nefi Sewell, the brother of Penei Sewell and Noah Sewell, out of Utah. He's likely to get drafted. He's got good athleticism, but I don't think physically, like, there's a lot left to be desired when it comes to him, his physical build. Avery Roberts, though, he might not have coverage upside, but he's a 2-down linebacker with a lot of special teams experience. Scott Nelson, man, this guy can play deep. He could play in the box. He did it all for Wisconsin. And then Merlin Roberts, man, he really had a fall from grace, right? But overall, he's a solid guy. Like, there's a lot of hesitation with him as a pass rusher, but he's an interesting developmental linebacker if you want to take a shot. Then I got Max Borghi. I really think he's a slot receiver in the NFL, and he kind of played that way when he was under Mike Leach, and then the injury, and then just this year in a different type of offense. Just last 2 seasons just didn't really align right for Borghi. Braylon Spector out of Clemson, fairly solid cat, but barely got a draftable grade on him. Same for Myron. Dogovaleo Amosa out of Notre Dame, kind of played he played a little inside of the tackle majority of the time. Doesn't really have much bend to his game. Kennedy Brooks, I love Kennedy Brooks. It sucks that he's this far down my list, but just the athletic upside's not there. There's not much as a receiver. He's very one-dimensional. He's got good. He's got good. Like, he could shake off defenders with relative ease, though. Chance Campbell tested out well. Not well enough to really put him any higher. Zakoby McClain, I'm just not a big fan of his tape. He's an undersized linebacker with a missed tackle problem. Jack Cohn, he might be a good backup in the league. That's about it. Then I got Kevin Harris here, man. And he was a little beat up this year, and then he ended up splitting time a lot with a guy we're going to see a little later in Zaquandre White. But Harris pretty good, man. He tested out a lot better than I anticipated to. Cesar Williams was part of that Wisconsin secondary that I marked out for. Good size. Christopher Hinton, don't know if he's drafted. He should have stayed another year there in Michigan, and I think he'd go much higher. And Brad Hawkins, man, he's probably just a box guy. Like, just he played deep this year, but that's just not him. It's not who he's gonna be. Fairly solid player, very smart player, but probably gonna be a special teamer in the long run. Fan Hicks, very good slot option, tested out very good. Trey Turner, you let me down, my friend. You were supposed to be my Josh Palmer at this year's Senior Bowl, and just didn't. He's got a limited route tree. He's thin and not nearly as fast as I thought he was. Jalen Watson, pretty solid player there for Washington State. Got Julius Turner here. Watch out for him, man. He's a bit undersized for the interior, but man, he can fly off the ball. Ellis Brooks, very solid college linebacker. Be interested to see what type of impacts he makes in the NFL. Reed Blankenship, a guy that's really fallen for grace the last couple of years because of injury and just, He can make up ground, but man, he's just not a true deep safety, and he's got a missed tackle problem. So it's not like he's really much of a box either. I talked about Brock Hoffman a bit earlier. I think he's a solid center. There's nothing too wowing about him. He's just a bit average, a bit middling, but I wouldn't mind having this cat on the roster. This is actually Denzel Williams from Villanova. They had nobody from Villanova on here, but the dude's probably a slot corner, but he's got some legit ball skills. Watch out for him. I talked about him in one of my sleeper videos. Denzel Williams, Villanova, plays corner, not tight end. Kobe Harvell-Peel. Once upon a time, I comped this guy's play style to Bob Sanders. Not that he was Bob Sanders, but he plays similar to Bob Sanders. Then he developed a missed tackle problem. Never regained that form in the last 3 seasons. Makes me sad. This is Chris Steele from USC. They just didn't have him in their library of players. Solid player, but no real high-end stuff. Then we got Derek Tangelo. I didn't really go back to watch him until I think it was the NFLPA Bowl he played in, or was it the Shrine? It all kind of mixes together at this point. Where are you at? It was the Shrine, and I thought he looked fairly solid. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he ended up being drafted. Zaquandre Wright, to be quite frank, there's just not enough film on this cat. I don't like the athletic upside didn't look like anything special when he tested out, though he looked pretty solid at South Carolina this season. He's got an interesting journey coming from Florida State. Ended up transferring because they wanted to make him a linebacker. Like, he's an interesting cat in this class, but I'm just not high on him like other guys. And then Austin Deckless, I think he's going to be a solid depth guy. I just don't know if he ever becomes a true starter in the NFL. Kai Polk, good size. Kalia Davis, man, at a Central Florida, just another nose tackle here in this class. This is actually the wide receiver from Utah, Devin Tompkins, undersized, probably ends up being a returner in the league, but man, he had a hell of a year. Owen Carney Jr. had one heck of a pro day and legit has some good tape the last couple of years. Like, low key, watch out for this guy being like an undrafted free agent that sticks to a roster and actually makes an impact. And then Sean Jolly, I like this cat as a slot, played a lot on the outside at Appalachian State. Kind of a fan of him. But yeah, no, that's my top 300, man. That's a hell of a lot of prospects we went over. And my voice is about to go, as you could probably tell. But that's it for the video. I don't want this to be an hour long, so we're going to end it here. Mock draft, predictive one, will be out later today. And then I will have tomorrow to start the day before the draft festivities start. I'm going to have what I would do mock draft. And then, of course, be there for, well, my live reactions to the NFL draft. We're doing all 3 days. It's going to be a hell of a week. So I hope you decide to take part in it with us. Till next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.